The scrolls of battle whisper of ruins that no ink can capture. Smoke still curls above the shattered peaks of the Azure Ridge, where the clash between Lin Feng and the Crimson Sect left the earth scarred and the rivers tainted. As the wind carries echoes of broken steel and desperate shouts, a shadow stirs in the valley of 10,000 spears, one that may tilt the fragile balance of power. Brace yourself. For recap, Martial God Asura Chapter 77. Chapter 78 is about to unveil the choices that will ignite destiny and test the limits of courage. The wind seemed to halt as Chu Feng advanced, each step resonating like the drumbeats of doom. His purple robe swirled around him as if caught in a phantom storm, and his eyes glinted with a frost that could pierce steel. From his very aura radiated a killing intent so fierce, it threatened to tear the courage from every soul nearby. He moved like a god of slaughter walking among mortals. The disciples of the World Alliance and the Sword Alliance recoiled in horror. Some, trembling beyond control, fell to the ground, crawling and scrambling in desperate flight. But one figure remained rooted. Xianxia. Pride chained him in place. The leader of the Sword Alliance, unable to abandon his honor before his followers, even as fear gnawed at his resolve. His eyes darted to Luowu, sprawled and broken behind Chu Feng, a living testament to the merciless force before him. Luck was no ally today. Chu Feng, what do you intend? Jianfengyi's voice quivered, a thread of panic slipping through his usual composure. The memory of Su Mei's words, "break them," reverberated in his mind like a sinister echo. Chu Feng's lips curved into the faintest smile, cruel and cold. Jianfengyi, I warned you, set foot in the Azure Dragonflower Garden again, and I would beat you beyond recognition. Even your own mother would not know you. The words were calm, yet each syllable carried a weight like steel striking bone. Jianfengyi's heart thundered. There was no room to retreat. He had to act, or be annihilated by the approaching tempest. With a roar, Jianfengyi lunged. His sword glimmered with a cold, sharp light, and spiritual energy erupted, forming meteor-like swords that cut through the air with a whistling fury. They converged to seal Chu Feng's advance, brilliant and lethal. A rank 4 technique mastered to perfection by Jianfengyi, the son of a family steeped in swordsmanship. For the onlookers, hope sparked. Their alliance master might yet survive this nightmare. But Chu Feng remained untouched. A subtle thought, and his body shimmered with faint lightning. The flying swords collided against it and shattered, vanishing into sparks and smoke. Even Jianfengyi's seasoned eyes widened. He had mastered this technique to the point where few dared face it unprotected. Yet here, Chu Feng pressed forward, unyielding. Fury ignited in Jianfengyi's chest. He spun his blade again, hurling another flurry of sword-shaped energy, aiming not just at Chu Feng, but at Su Mei standing behind him. You dare court death! Chu Feng's brows arched, and with a sweep of his hand, a whip of lightning erupted, slicing through the sword energies like a blade through silk. The crackling lashing of elemental fury surged toward Jianfengyi. Object condensation? Jianfengyi gasped, heart pounding. To condense spiritual energy into a tangible, almost living form was a rank 5 marvel, one only legends could touch. Who is this? The realization struck him like an iron fist. Chu Feng was no mere mortal adversary. The lightning whip struck with brutal precision. Sparks flew as Jianfengyi's iron sword split, shattered into halves that fell to the blood-stained earth. The lash tore at his body, bones snapping beneath the unrelenting strike. He flew back several meters, a crimson arc marking his descent. The disciples of the Sword Alliance froze, horror rooting them to the spot as their leader's life hung by a thread. Chu Feng unleashed fury without hesitation. The whip cracked again and again, each strike tearing through flesh and bone. Jianfengyi's screams echoed through the Azure Dragonflower Garden, a chorus of terror and despair, marking injuries that would demand years to heal, if survival even remained in the cards. Desperation consumed the surrounding disciples. Kneeling in trembling unison, they cried out, voices choked with fear. Senior Chu Feng, we were wrong. Forgive us. We will never oppose the Wings Alliance again. Even the World Alliance members fell in obeisance, terror etched deep in every line of their faces. Chu Feng's voice was a cold wind across the battlefield. Begging does not spare you from consequence. Today, you witness the price of daring to strike at those dear to me. His pupils contracted, and the whip of lightning shrieked through the garden once more. The air filled with wails and anguish, each strike leaving devastation in its wake. Even unconscious bodies were not spared from the cruel lash. It was Sume who finally spoke, her tone tempered with sorrow. Chu Feng, that is enough. Compassion, fragile yet unyielding, cut through the storm of vengeance. Chu Feng paused, lightning dimming at her word. The bloodied disciples and shattered bones told the tale of his wrath, tempered only by Sume's mercy. From the remnants of the chaos, Situ Yu and the others understood at last the terrifying measure of Chu Feng's power. Even provocation could not sway him from the peak of his supremacy, and the memory of that day would forever haunt them. Sume, freed from the fearsome spectacle, muttered in half anger, half gratitude. You already reached the underground palace. Why not wait for me? Were the spiritual medicines truly so pressing? Chu Feng's faint chuckle answered more than words could. With a graceful leap, he disappeared into a distant bush, re-emerging moments later, leaving Sume's eyes frozen, the tale of his audacity lingering like a shadow over the garden. The wind carried a whisper of destiny that day, and in the heart of the Azure Dragon Flower Garden, a scene of quiet wonder unfolded, one that would etch itself into legend. Chu Feng stood bathed in sunlight, his expression radiant, a warmth in his smile that could thaw even the coldest hearts. But it was not his smile that drew the eye. No, it was the handful of blossoms cradled in his right hand. Flowers of 7 hues, each petal shimmering in a distinct color, kissed by the sunlight and circled by delicate butterflies, their fragrance weaving an invisible spell in the air. These were no ordinary blooms. 7 colored flowers, rarities of the realm, seldom seen even once in a lifetime. Yet here they rested, gathered by Chu Feng's careful hands, a gift of both beauty and intent. Spiritual medicines hold value, Chu Feng said softly, his voice carrying both pride and a quiet tenderness. But these flowers, they are for you. He extended them to Sume, his eyes gentle, knowing. Sume's hands trembled slightly as she accepted the blossoms. A storm of emotions surged within her chest, a mix of warmth and yearning, of surprise and gratitude that drew a blush to her cheeks. Her eyes glistened, yet she stubbornly held back tears. You won't cry now, surely? Chu Feng teased lightly, the sound of his chuckle blending with the soft hum of nature. Who's crying? She shot back, a faint smile breaking through her composure. And then she leaned close, inhaling the intoxicating fragrance. Her smile, radiant and pure, moved all who beheld it, even Chu Feng, though he hid it behind a mask of modesty. The truth of her joy was not the flowers themselves, but the heart that had sought them out for her. Time, relentless and unforgiving, pressed upon them. We must hurry. 4 hours is nearly past, and failure looms if we linger. Sume's voice, though tinged with urgency, still carried the sweetness of her smile. Others fretted over the injuries of their companions, but Chu Feng's assurance was firm. They will not perish. I restrained the danger in time. Sume added with quiet determination. Once the exam begins, my sister will enter the Azure Dragonflower Garden to heal them, and they caused this themselves, so blame will not fall upon us. Our task is to leave this garden. With a confident grin, Chu Feng led the way, moving as though through familiar halls, though the garden stretched vast and treacherous. Suspicion flickered in Sume's eyes. This is your first time here. How do you know the exit? She asked. Chu Feng laughed, a spark of mischievous pride in his tone. I have combed every corner of this garden in search of the flowers. The exit was never hidden from my path, and all spiritual medicines have been gathered. He patted the cosmos sack at his side, a gesture that drew both astonishment and warmth from Sume. The enormity of the garden, its twisting paths and hidden dangers, had been conquered by his diligence. Yet it was not mere skill that stirred her. It was the devotion, the thoughtfulness behind his journey that struck her heart. Under his guidance, they soon arrived at a vast palace, marking both the garden's exit and the entrance to its secretive core zone. Within, a grand hall spread before them, and upon a central stone stage stood a triangular rock, tall and segmented into 3 colors, green at the base, yellow in the middle, and red at its peak, a silent testament to the test ahead. Beside it, 6 venerable elders sat, their hair white or gray, faces lined with the tales of a century's wisdom. Though their forms betrayed age, The aura emanating from them was a thick, unyielding power that no spirit energy could pierce. As their eyes opened to the intruders, surprise flickered within their ancient gazes. They noted the wounds upon Situyu and the others, marks of human conflict rather than the garden's trials. Yet no reprimand followed. Battles among disciples were far too familiar to them. A sharp intake of breath greeted the sight of the flowers in Sumei's hands. 7 colored flowers, all gathered from the Azure Dragon flower garden? An elder's voice resonated with awe. Sumei could only respond with a smile, her heart full of joy and pride that words could not contain. Another elder beckoned them forward. Step forth and be tested. The disciples approached the 3-colored stone in turn, their hearts pounding in anticipation. This was no ordinary trial. It was the talent test, a measure of one's innate potential, to be broadcast in the core zone for all core elders and disciples to witness. The stone's heart was to be imbued with spiritual energy. Should the energy concentration meet the mark, it would blaze forth in a color corresponding to the talent tier: green for low, yellow for medium, and red for the rare high tier. In all the history of the test, only 2 had ever reached the red: Jiang Tianyi of the past year and Gong Luyun, the current top disciple. "I shall go first," announced Situyu, leader of the Wings Alliance, his confidence unshaken. His spirit was resolute, certain of his medium-tier abilities. As he placed his hand upon the stone, tension rippled through the gathered crowd, Sumei among them. The fate of futures hung in the balance. A low hum emanated from the stone, a subtle stirring of ancient energy. Spiritual power flowed, weaving through the rock like invisible currents. Slowly, steadily, the green section ignited, a vivid emerald glow announcing the awakening of his latent talent, a mark of promise, though not yet the heights of legend.